Now we will have a presentation from Indonesia. So please welcome our presenter from Indonesia with a big round of applause.
Hello, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Joan Ahim, good morning, selamat pagi. It is indeed a great pleasure for me to be here, especially among our ASEAN countries colleagues. So it means that we bring the spirit of ASEAN into Korea. So feeling at home now. But it is also something that we have to show the Korea, that Indonesia and other ASEAN countries, we are also supporting the Asian community in terms of technology and startup. So this will create a very good and positive image about ASEAN before the eyes of Koreans. So I just would like to share with you the story about Indonesia. So the Indonesia, especially in terms of IT and also startup and the ecosystems that we are having. And last but not least, but this will be on the first place later, about the market of this industry in Indonesia. Because in Indonesia, we do believe that whatever businesses that we are going to create in Indonesia and in other part of the country, nowadays is driven by market. So then market will be a part of the story about Indonesia today. And then also I'm going to share with you as well about the landscape of investment in Indonesia in terms of ICT. And then also, finally, we are going to share with you the information about the policy that government has in order to create the sound investment or business climate in Indonesia that will include as well about the ICT or startup business in Indonesia. Here is the face of Indonesia that could be also represented by numbers that we are having so far about the market of Indonesia. So Indonesia is a country in ASEAN that is having the biggest populations. So our populations is more than 40% of the total ASEAN populations. So the total populations of Indonesia is more than 265 million. More than 265 million people in Indonesia. So Indonesia is the fourth most populous country in the world. So when it is talking about the number itself, it is already the market. But when we talk about then more specific market that we are having in Indonesia in terms of, let's say, ICT, so instead of having a very big number of total populations, Indonesia currently having only 132.7 million internet users. So in a negative point of view, we could see that it is still small number compared to the total populations of Indonesia. But then, in terms of future market, it means that we still have a lot of possibility to stretch more for the balance of populations in Indonesia that could be very possible to be the market of our internet users as well. And now we talk about smartphone users. Smartphone users in Indonesia, we have 63.4 million. They are the users. But when we talk about the populations of the mobile phones, it is something different. It has happened not only in Indonesia, I believe, it has happened as well in other ASEAN countries that every single of us, we have more than one mobile phone. Am I right? Yeah. At least you will manage your communications and coordinations with your family, should be in one mobile phone with a special ringtone. And then the other one is for your business-wise, then this will be having also in one phone with could be different ringtones. The one is coming from the boss, the rest coming from your junior. And then now we have also this e-commerce business in Indonesia that currently valued around $9.3 billion for 2017. And online shoppers, it's only 8.7 millions. And especially they are located in top 5 cities in Indonesia. Among others, the city that Malaysians love to visit, which is Bandung. It is in West Java. And then also e-commerce transactions value that we have is $4.89 million. Penetrations of internet in Indonesia, it reached 50% in 2017. It is still below global average, which is 53, but it is huge with the internet penetrations of 50%. And average fixed internet connections considered still very low, especially in the rural area. But in the cities like Jakarta, Bandung, Medan, Surabaya, it is well enough. So it means that if it is compared with this global average of average fixed internet connections, we have still to do a lot of things to do this. But so far for the existing businesses running in Indonesia, it is fine. Year-on-year change in growth of internet users, we have 12.9%, and global average is 7.9%. So it means that the growth in Indonesia is far higher beyond this global average of this growth of internet users. Now, the next phase of the market of Indonesia. So in terms of e-commerce here, potential transactions, it is transactions actually happening in Indonesia. So you could see from 2013 went up to 2016, so it grew from 8 billion US dollars to 20 billion US dollars. The predictions for 2020, this will reach 130 billion. This is a huge and very serious market. And among others, the biggest players that we are having in Indonesia, we have Bukalapak. This is the local platform that we have, a company as well. And then Bineka.com, Tokopedia, OLX, and also Blibli. Blibli, that's a kind of slang language of, I guess, Malaysians and Brunei. You understand about this. Blibli is buy, keep buying. Right. So from the name itself, it is already very provocative. And financial technology, and especially in the fintech, transactions that we have in 2016, it reached 14.5 billion. And nominal of transactions per populations in 2014, it reached 56.98. And the players that we have, Dompetku. Dompet is your wallet. And then also Doku. Doku is slang language as well. That means money. And then also Kita Bisa and Kartuku. On-demand service that we have, these are the companies that is currently, especially in Jakarta, and Jakarta, we could not live without this Gojek and Grab. So this is on-demand service that we have the value around 132.7 million internet users, and this smartphone, 63.4 billion smartphone users that will use their smartphone of the services provided by this Gojek and Grab. For me, myself, I don't drive to the office. It doesn't mean that I don't have facility for this. I do have facilities, a kind of car, but I prefer to go by Gojek to the office. Gojek is simply something like taxi, but it is motorcycle that you download it. And before this Gojek operated, we have already the conventional ones, the Gojek that is stationed in a pool. Then you have to keep walking to that pool, then negotiate about the price. Then you go to the office by this. In Jakarta especially, it is quite helpful. Why? Because the traffic jam in Jakarta is more than worse. So it means that will be frustrating for you. By having this kind of taxi, then this will make your life simpler. And especially when you have a client meeting, then there is no other reason for you for taking any taxi. Just use this Gojek or Grab. And this expands the businesses not only about this kind of traveling. It provides as well about GoFood, right? So it means that in the middle of the night, and you didn't manage your time of having your dinner yet, and you think of having supper, you just call them, right? Then they will, you don't have to go, they will come to your house buying something that you need that the companies or the shop is already registered by this Gojek, then they will bring this food to your home or to your office. Right, and then for the IoT, we have also big value as well, 250 billion US dollars, and also the player are Glue, eFishery, and KubeCon. Oops, sorry. What did I do? Now, still market overview about this investment in some of the unicorns, the unicorns that we have, and then also some other startups that we have. So, Grab is having investment in Indonesia around 2 billion US dollars. The investors coming from SoftBank. SoftBank is a Japan company, right? And then also Didi Chuxing. And Gojek is having 1.2 billion investment. Tencent is the largest investor there. The balance is the local investor. And then Tokopedia, we have 1.2 billion investment. Alibaba is the largest investor. And Traveloka, 0.5 billion. Bukalapak, 22 million. And MCAS Kiosan, 3.2. So 4 of them are unicorns. So I highlighted in the yellow, Gojek, Tokopedia, Traveloka, Bukalapak, they are already unicorn. And I guess we are going to have the next one, because in Indonesia this year, we have already informed about the unicorn that we have, and we have the conference in Bali in May. The name is NextTcorn. And the next one will be happening. Normally, it should be annual event, but for this year, will be very extraordinary, because we are going to have as well IMF World Bank annual meeting in Bali. Then the next TCOM, the second one, will be also conducted in Bali in October from 13 to 14. Yeah, 13 to 14. If you have any interest to come to Bali, Bali itself is already very interesting. So having the event in Bali related with your business will be another incentive. Next, this is Indonesia Financial Technology or FinTech Development. So the growth that we have here, from 2016 to 2018, it grew by 38%. It's huge growth. And then for the number of players, it grew by 34% as well. It means that parallelly, they are running quite well. And mostly for this FinTech business, mostly they are covering in the area of payment systems, clearing, and settlements, dominated by these sectors. And now when we talk about deals and value trend in Indonesia, so we are still dominated with a very seed or earlier stage of this kind of investment especially. That's a 3 billion total value of disclosed. This is only for the disclosed investment, because in this area, some of them, they just make a kind of investment without any disclosed preference. So most of the investment are still in the seed or earlier stage, but late stage investment are generating most of the value. And we have these 230 startups launched, and 14 of them merged and acquisitions startups, and then also 2 startups of initial public offering already. And then I guess the one that we have now from Indonesia, which is iGrow, is also having a planning to have an IPO. I don't know, maybe in the near future, hopefully, because they are growing very good and having a very good trust from the public. And 91 announced as investment funding rounds of the startups. This is also the deals. So mostly dominated by e-commerce. It has 58% of deals and value by the category of this. The list is about the payment. It is only 1%, and then also classified category 1%. Others 1%. Transport is the second one. Oops, sorry. Here, I just would like to share with you the 10 active of these venture capitals in Indonesia. It is not only Indonesian venture capitals, but it is also some others coming from abroad. But for your information, most of the venture capitals having a business in these startups in Indonesia, mostly they are local venture capitals. So the first is East Ventures, invested in Traveloka, Tokopedia, and also actually it is invested in iGrow. And then Cyber Agent Ventures, it is in Tokopedia and Ralali. Ralali comes from Japanese language. It means that don't forget. And then 500 startups, it invests as well in iGrow, all right? Bukalapak, Febelio, and others. And MTech is Indonesia's local venture capitals. invested in Bukalapak and Kudo, and Rebright Partners, it is also investing in Aturduit and Indo Trading. Oh, sorry. Yeah. The rest, IMG, Fanox, Convergence, and Skytrade Capital, and GRI, they are also local ventures capitals in Indonesia. They are investing in these startups. That's the market and also the landscape on investment. Now, I just would like to bring you into how the government having interest of involving regulations and creating better climate of investment or business in these sectors. So we have the regulations, presidential regulations, number 74, 2017. And based on these regulations, we cover this with the direction strategic guidance in accelerating the implementations of e-commerce in Indonesia into principle and scopes. We have here 4 principles in developing this kind of business. So it should be openness to all parties, legal certainty, and also protections and prioritizations and protections for the interests of national SMEs and startups, and improve e-commerce expertise. And scoping to funding, taxations, consumer protections, improve e-commerce expertise, logistic, telecommunications infrastructure, cybersecurity, and formations of implementing management for e-commerce roadmap. E-commerce roadmap that we are having is, this is including also the visions of Indonesia for 2020 that will be only 2 years left. This is digital energy of Indonesia with 2020 Go Digital Visions. So by 2020, we are planning and we designing and we have also the agenda with schedules that we would like to have 1,000 technopreneurs in 10 major cities across Indonesia as a pilot project for this. And we would like also 1 million villagers, farmers, and fishermen go digital. When we talk about fishermen, because Indonesia, a country is having 17,000 islands, it has one of the longest coastal line in the world. Of course, we have also these fishermen in Indonesia, then we would like to make them becoming very productive and having good access, not only locally, but internationally as well. And we would like to have around 8 million of micro, small, and medium enterprises going digital by 2020. And last but not least, we are going to have also 187 sub-districts in Indonesia that they are going to be broadband villages. It means that this will support also the business players in the villages with this kind of broadband capacity and facilities created by the government. And these visions will be implemented in 3 segments, which are small, medium enterprises, established e-commerce businesses, and technology-based startups. So startups is one of the priority designed by the government to develop this Visions 2020 in Indonesia. So this is information. It's a boring slide. You could just try to read. This is just a kind of explanations from the previous slide. Now, government is not working alone as well, because we know that in terms of financial sectors, there are 2 different authorities in Indonesia. The first is central bank, which cover all the business in banking in Indonesia. And the other one is OJK. OJK is Financial Authority Institutions that they will manage, started from, let's say, giving the license and also controlling about the implementations of their businesses in Indonesia, that they are outside of banking business. So then, fintech will be the one under the OJK. So that's 2 institutions. And then, when we are talking other business that will be in the real sectors, then comes my institution's Investment Coordinating Board, coming on board as the regulators, as also the one that is promoting about investment in the real sectors in Indonesia, as well as providing the facilities in terms of you have a kind of problem in implementing your investment in Indonesia. But the one that I just quote by BI, or central bank, so they have a kind of program of encouraging innovations. But when we talk about innovations, as the new things coming in Indonesia and in some countries in the world as well, so it is coming with the risks. So now the Central Bank of Indonesia, they have the policy. At the time we encourage of these innovations in Indonesia, you have to manage the possible risk happen following these innovations. So that's why Central Bank of Indonesia, they are having this kind of balance of encouraging innovations, but they would like to reduce the risk as well. Then this is then broken down into some programs that they are having. If we may just, let's say, quotes from the Jerome H. Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve System, he mentions that we live in a time of extraordinary technological change. We should be open to the new ideas and innovations. Authorities will insist of safety and security while also working to assure that our citizens benefit from payment system innovations. That's the role of the government. And these are also the thing that is done by the central bank. They do this kind of facilities under that umbrella. They have also this kind of sandbox system. So it means that when we are talking about sandbox, it means that there is one sandbox under Central Bank of Indonesia for the banking and financial e-commerce, fintechs, financial technology, and the rest will be under OJK, including all other startups. They have also this kind of a sandbox under the system and control of OJK. Now, these are related with foreign direct investment, because when we are talking about investment, it means that investors, they could come to Indonesia through the door of only investing through the IPO and other things in stock exchange. And then the other one, you have to establish your financial institutions in Indonesia, that you have to register your company in OJK, and the balance maybe you need to establish your company in Indonesia like a kind of, what do you call? Apa namanya tuh yang tadi saya bilang? Sometimes the terms get me crazy, a lot of terms that I have to memorize all this. So you just establish your company that is not running actually in explicit financial operations, but you are going to put your shares into different companies in Indonesia. So for this company, then you have to deal with my institutions, BKPM. So it means that as a kind of ventures capital, you have to come to OJK. As a kind of holding company, you have to come to BKPM, because we are going to one that will release the issue, the license for your business in Indonesia. But this only some information that I could share with you when we talk about manufacturing, computer assembly software, including also for this other information services and saving processor data server. This is in Indonesia open for 100% foreign investment. And when we talk about this e-commerce or retail online, it is already open for 100% for partnerships. Open for 100%, but it means that it requires partnerships. When we talk about partnerships, the platform that we have, Ferry, they are all 8 of them. Among others, the first is about share ownerships. Using this kind of clue, then OJK, they put the regulations on board as well. So for this, then you have to do a kind of partnerships with the local investors or local owner of this company. So the maximum then finally will not be 100%, but 85%. And electronic trade, this is maximum 49% of foreign investment. In case then you combine between this e-commerce, retail, and also electronic trade, then they will refer to the more restricted regulations. So the combinations of these 2 line of businesses, then finally, the maximum ownerships of shares that is allowed by foreigners will be only limited by 49%. Right. These are the opportunities, e-commerce businesses that we have: logistics, digital, enablers, talent solutions, agriculture. Now, like any other countries in ASEAN, I guess this is not exclusively owned by Indonesia. So currently, Indonesia's startup landscape faces challenges across these areas. So talent shortage, this is something that is in the concerns by the government. It doesn't mean that we don't have capacity of producing this kind of talent in Indonesia, because we have also extraordinary institutions like universities that we have. like Universitas Indonesia in Jakarta, or ITB in Bandung, and also UGM in Yogyakarta, or ITS in Surabaya. Those in top 4 cities in Indonesia, they produce this. But currently, we only able to produce only 278 engineers per 1 million Indonesians. So it is still very small. So we need also supply for this. So then we thank as well that investment coming from Brunei Darussalam, from Malaysia to Indonesia to do and also to supply this expertise and also investment collaborating with the skills that we have in Indonesia. And investor startups matching, this is also something that we are having a kind of challenge. As I did mention to you that mostly the investors in our startup companies, they are local venture capitals. But I guess then, knowing that the market is huge and the talent is also getting better, and the government is also planning of having more institutions in Indonesia, or even we are having also the plan of opening institutions for education in Indonesia for foreign direct investment, I do believe that in the near future, this will be something that we could overcome. Regulatory hurdles, because it is something that we are not advanced in, so we are having a kind of problem of setting, harmonizing, and also coordinating about the planning, the implementations, and the evaluations of regulations that should be creating better investment climate in Indonesia in this ICT business. This is only 6 economic packages issued by the current administrations of the President Joko Widodo. So at least from these 6, we have e-commerce and this is not, sometimes we use this term OSS as one-stop service. It used to be already the previous chapter of Indonesia. The one that we have OSS now is online single submission, electronically. So for establishment of your company, you just do this online in Indonesia, because otherwise then you just contribute into that traffic jam in Jakarta. So these are the things that we covered in terms of accelerating doing business in Indonesia, because we jumped more than 10 ranks by a very tough and hard job of the government of Indonesia collaborating with the private sectors. But finally, we are going to have this in order to make of our rank getting better in the next coming years. I guess this is not, all right. So this would be the slide that I would like to share with you, that we have an event in Bali in May. So this Unicorn Breeders Nations, that's the theme that we have. It was in May. That is 1,035 one-on-one that connect 67 ventures capital with more than 70 startups in Indonesia. So the next one, if you have an interest, will be coming in October. So try to come and to see what will be the next step and also trend of Indonesia in terms of this startups movement. And in terms of digital value in Indonesia, so we have this, but talking about digital values in Indonesia, the government has no specific institutions that manage of this, but we have Ministry of Telecommunications and Communications that manage this kind of businesses. They do have this Silicon Valley, but private sectors as well as state-owned enterprises in Indonesia, they have also their own Silicon Valley, especially like Central Bank and also Bank Mandiri as one of the best bank in Indonesia. They have also their own fintech Silicon Valley to develop fintech for Indonesia future banking business. And many of venture capitals in Indonesia that they run the business in co-working space. They have also incubators that will run a part of this kind of Silicon Valley. And I guess this will be the market that is big, and also the government is setting all the regulations to support this kind of thing in Indonesia. And we are still having lack of capacity in terms of capital as well as technicalities. So opening our door, we are inviting you to come to the Party of Indonesia in ICT and Startup. Welcome to Indonesia. Thank you.
So we have some time, 3 minutes to receive some questions from the floor.
Please.
So if there are questions, please raise your hand.
Ride-sharing business model.
Yes, Uber, Grab, yeah, totally legal, or is there any restriction for the kind of business model?
Sorry, like
Uber, you mean
Uber,
Grab,
Uber, yeah.
the ride-sharing business model.
Yeah, for Uber, mostly before it is having a kind of venture capitals, it comes with crowdfunding, like the one that we have here, iGrow, and also Property. So they start with this kind of crowdfunding. Why? Because this, sorry.
No, it's a misunderstanding.
Okay.
You know the Uber,
Uber, yes.
yeah, Grab,
Yes.
ride-sharing, private car.
Oh, yes,
Yes,
all right,
yeah.
okay. Just like also Airbnb, yeah?
Yeah,
in terms,
Airbnb, yes,
that's legal. That's legal.
It's legal in
So it means
Indonesia.
that, yeah, for those especially that is working in Indonesia because of traffic jam and they live in the satellite cities of Jakarta, like in Bogor, Bekasi, and when they just leave the office on time, they will get trapped into this kind of situations. So most of them, they just subscribe themselves as the driver for Grab and Ojek. Uber used to be in Indonesia, but it is diambil sama siapa Uber sekarang? Grab, yes. Now Uber in Indonesia, then finally acquired by Grab. It is legal. It is.
Because in some other ASEAN countries, it is illegal, the kind of business model. So Indonesia is totally legal, right?
Totally.
Okay, thank you.
Normally, the resistance comes from the conventional taxis companies, right? That they just don't want to lose the market. The situations in Indonesia, even you operate all of your cars in the normal taxi business, this will not sufficient enough to cover the market. So that helps instead of, let's say, distracting of the market.
All right, so thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
your
much.
presentation. It was very lively, so.